Hi, it's David again, and I'm really excited to start the next project in my FX35 series. I just received a roll of vinyl today, and I am going to attempt to recover the cracking dash. It's something I look at every time I drive the car, and it really drives me nuts. I've never done this kind of work before, but I've been following several videos from a guy in Canada called CK Wraps. I'll link his channel below. I don't have super high expectations for myself, but hopefully it looks better than what it does now with the cracks. And now it's time to get started. As you can already see, there's a big hole here where my stereo used to go. I took that out, already started on that project, but that'll be a separate video. But I need to take these speaker grills out. I've had these grills out before. They just push in here. So there's one. And they have little push-in tabs, so you can get one up, you can kind of lift up the others. That vinyl's just crumbling away at the back, so I'm going to try to be careful because I don't want to take apart any more of this than I have to. So that feels like the grill is separating from the back of the vent, which may be good enough for this project. Now the whole thing feels like it wants to come loose. Well, one of those clips popped off. I don't know. Once I get determined to take something out, I'm going to break some plastic before it's done. I think once I get one side up, I'll be able to lift the whole thing out. So there's a little push tab. I'm going to put this sensor, because there's two more, in the cup holder, so hopefully I remember where that one goes. There's one more vent on the side. Again, these are so fragile and brittle right now that I want to be super careful not to crack them up any more than they already are. Well, it's determined to stay in there, isn't it? Boy, that's tough. I am going to fight with this a little bit more. It just keeps disintegrating that vinyl every time I touch it. Not pretty at all. At least this is a place that's not as prominent on the dash, but I don't like it. I was getting frustrated, and I'm going to leave that alone for just a second and move over here to the defroster vent. That piece came up, which is what happened on the other one. This one was a little stickier on the other side. So this sensor, they don't give you a lot of wire here for sure. I'm back with a small screwdriver, and I'm going to try to, I can see that tab. Okay, there's enough wire that you can get this up. So I guess this is the little security warning lamp. Hopefully my car doesn't get mad at me for unplugging it. That one seems like it might behave better than the other side, and it did. There's a connector with a plastic release tab. Once you do that, you have the vent out. Well, there we go. So here's this disintegrating dash. I don't know how I'm going to repair that. This is actually part of the project I've been doing for a while, and it's why the car's been sitting outside all day. There's enough protectant on this dash that every time it heats up, it starts to get glossy. So I've been wiping it throughout the past couple weeks since I started this project with alcohol, just to try to desaturate whatever's on the dash, and that's what I'm doing right now. This is the vinyl I bought. This comes in 60-inch wide rolls, and I don't know if you can see past me, but it's just wide enough to get from edge to edge of the dash. I grabbed a seamstress tape measure. If you follow all these curves, it's just about perfect, and then it's time to see how much material to cut off. So I think it's about 28 inches to the bottom of the radio stack. 29, 30, 31, 32 ought to do it. I'm probably going to cut it 34. Since I have 8 feet, I could screw this up and do it again. 96 divided by 3 is 32. If I cut it at 32, I could do it exactly 3 times. 32 should do it. It's definitely one of those measure twice, cut one scenarios. I think if I cut right here above that line, I'll have 32 inches. Now you can see where the vinyl got pulled away from here. I think my plan is going to be heat up some hot glue and try to fill that in as much as I can. I don't expect this to be perfect. And I really, it's the least noticeable crack from the passenger side, and it's kind of behind the steering wheel. So even if it's not perfect, as long as the vinyl will adhere, that's good news for me. Okay, I'm gonna let that fully set before I touch it again. And now that that's fully set, I'm gonna grab just a standard razor blade and just try to very gently slice this off flush. I've decided I'm gonna re-glue this. The glue doesn't really adhere to this material. Maybe I can tool it while it's still hot. Okay, I think that's the best looking job I've done. It's pretty smooth, and I think I'll be able to cut away that extra glue. I glued this twice, and I put my finger in it too early, both times. So now I'm going to have half a beer, let that dry properly. I decided while I was in here, I would fill in this and this one, and then this one right here. These are sort of the biggest holes. I'm just hoping that maybe this glue in here will keep these guys from opening up more. Grabbed an X-Acto knife, just because I think it'll be easier to see. It's anything but a perfect fix, but I think for the amount of time I spent on it, it's not so bad. I need to clean this dash off because I've got lots of residue from all these pieces. And so I'm going to peel the backing off this vinyl, and so you can start to. Here's where I'm starting. It's tricky, obviously, because this needs to go all the way to the windshield. I just have to have enough material. This is all stuck to itself now, and I just hope that with some heat and love that everything will lay down. And the airbag, I'm sure somebody's thinking, well, you're covering up the airbag. I am sure that if this airbag deploys, it's either going to take all of this vinyl with it, which would be fine because it's light, or it's going to punch right through it. And either one of these things doesn't seem so dangerous. Saying you shouldn't think about that, but it doesn't seem like the most dangerous situation. This is not my trade. It's impossible to know how much length you have on this side until you start stretching it. So that, all those marks are actually where glue has, I think, lifted up. Friends, this is the very first time in my life I've ever touched any kind of vinyl wrap material. So if it sticks on the car, I will be quite happy. Don't watch me for the technique. Watch me just for comedy. I feel better already about how this vinyl is laying out. And if you see this and you're a vinyl guy and you say you're a moron because no one should ever try to do a wrap like this on their first time, I'd be interested to. I might drive it for a couple weeks like this just to get my confidence back up to try it again. Every time it folds over like this and sticks to itself. Every time I cut, it's scary because you can't uncut it. Okay, I think it's time to finish the other half of my first half beer and then get the heat gun out and try to work this side out and see what happens. I'm going to try to start working this from this bottom piece, and then I'll work up to the top. But I think since this is the deepest part, I want to lay this line and then start stretching it out. I don't know what's an acceptable amount of heat or stretch and what's too much, and maybe this is really mild. Like, I'm not even beginning to reach the limits of what you should stretch. I would rather do too little than too much. Maybe I'll heat this up and lay this down. Then I can start working from this center over. Have my first fatality of the heat gun. Pointed at the floor mat. You got to be careful. Yeah, that sucks. Anyways, they're aftermarket floor mats. Back in the garage again to finish this project. I actually tore out the film that I installed the other day because it wasn't fitting right, and I'm going to make a pattern now to hopefully avoid that problem. This is the film I had in the car the other day. You can see my neighbor across the street's about to start power washing, so I might do some of this in voiceover because it's going to get loud, as you can hear. I've drawn a little like a diagram of my dash, and I've stretched this piece of string from A pillar to A pillar, and now I'm just going to take some measurements at different points. So let's say 14.5 gets us over the hump of this. I'm going to do the same thing at the side. This is like 8.5 right here. So now that I have all these dimensions, I'm going to try to build a pattern. So this represents the string that I had. I'm going to do this once because it's sort of a freehand draw, and then I'll fold it and cut it. I'm sorry, this is the cut around the notch. So we'll make this an inch smaller. So at this point, I have half of the main pattern. I'm just going to fold this paper in half, just cutting both sheets at the same time. And I'll do the same thing when I get to the vinyl. Okay, so this, minus the steering wheel cutout, should be a pretty correct layout. And if I really like this pattern fit, then I will roll out some vinyl and I will try to cut it. Here is my template. If I can make this work with Christmas paper, I can certainly make it work with the vinyl. I guess it's time to cut the vinyl. Now I made this pattern this way, and when I put this in the car, this side was up. And obviously I want the black side of the vinyl to face up, so I'm going to turn the pattern over. It's time to cut. This obviously, unless your car has steering wheels on both sides, you don't want to double cut. You know, I'm trying to keep my cuts as curved as possible because I don't want to tear the vinyl in the corner as I start to stretch it. The plan here is to peel the backing back to maybe that line, since it's nice and marked out, and try to cut it. So now I have my pattern piece of vinyl. I have individual backing that I can remove when I need it so that it's not sticking to places I don't want it. And as scary as it is, I think I am about ready for the vinyl now. I'm back inside the car. Here's the piece of vinyl I just cut. And now I just want to see how it's going to fit. I already feel better about doing this than the other night. And I guess it's time to see what I can do here. I'm going to try to slide this up under that piece of vinyl. All I need is a ½ inch of that to go over the dash everywhere, and then I will be very, very happy. I am going back and forth on each side of the car, and I'm just trying to walk this piece forward. Actually, I think what I'm going to do is peel this off, put a piece of this release paper from before all the way across here. This is the backing from the piece I wasted the other day. You can see how much I wasted. Imagine if the whole sheet was unbacked. You'd have all this stuff trying to stick to itself. Almost completely in this, just this corner I think needs to be a little bit deeper. Okay, now I'm covering up my bin plate, so I guess I will figure out later how to get that uncovered. Maybe we take it out one more time. I'm afraid it's going to start sliding when I try to peel this backing off. Okay, so this is the best I've been so far. Okay, I'm going to take a break just to cool off. So I am going to peel off the center piece and see if I can hopefully stretch this out without taking it off the windshield here. It's difficult because I can't, it's hard to pull from this direction. That may be time for the heat gun. After 2 attempts and about $124 in tools and materials. I'm giving up on trying to re-vinyl my dash. I would say unless you have a lot of experience with vinyl and you're really confident, I wouldn't try this thing. I actually burnt the passenger side floor mat because the heat gun was pointed at it for too long, and I was probably more frustrated with this particular project than anything else I've done in a long time. This kind of blends in with the dash. You still know there's a crack there, but it's black and it's not filled, and it doesn't seem to come out. But I'm going to order the Coverlay dash cover. It's a $350 part, but it's made specifically for this vehicle, and when it's finished I should have something smooth and as good as I can have without replacing the dash. Thanks so much for watching this video and my frustrating attempt at vinyling my dash. I hope you check out the other videos in my FX35 upgrade and repair series, and stay tuned for other projects I might start next.